Hi, boys and girls. I would like for us to continue our discussion about making predictions. Remember, when you make predictions, you make the best guess you can about what you think might happen next based on what the author tells you and what might be in the words in the pictures. That's the text evidence, and what you already know. Okay, so I want to share a story, and the story I'm going to share is called Amelia Bedelia. Now, this might be a story that you have read before, but it might not. So, I want for us to make a good guess about what's going to happen next. We've got to understand who Amelia Bedelia is. So I'm going to read the first couple of pages and then we're going to predict as I finish the story. So the story is Amelia Bedelia. And it's written by Peggy Parrish. And this is a book I've had for a very long time. It's kind of an older book. And so here's a picture, Amelia Bedelia. Okay. And my book's kind of fallen asleep. The pictures are by Fritz Seibel. Okay. Now, and I'm going to move it closer so that we can make sure we can all see it. All right. It says, "Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work. And I can't be here, but I have made a list for you. You do just what the list says," said Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers got into the car with Mr. Rogers. They drove away. "My, what nice folks. I'm going to like working here," said Amelia Bedelia. Okay, so she's going to work for this family. Okay. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. That means kind of big. These must be rich folks, but I must get to work. Here I stand just looking, and me with a whole list of things to do. Amelia Bedelia stood there a minute longer. "I think I'll make a surprise for them. I'll make a lemon meringue pie. I do make good pies." So she's gone to work at this house, and the Mrs. Rogers has made a list of things for her to do. Okay. But first, she decides she's going to make a lemon meringue pie. So Amelia Bedelia went to the kitchen. She put a little of this and a pinch of that into a bowl. She mixed and she rolled. Soon her pie was ready to go into the oven. "There," said Mrs. Amelia Bedelia, "that's done." So she's made a pie, and she's baking that lemon meringue pie. I'm not sure if you've ever had that before. That's a different kind of pie. So let's see. Now, let's see what this list says. Amelia Bedelia read, "Change the towels in the green bathroom." Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. "Those towels are very nice. Why change them?" she thought. Then Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers had said. She must do just what the list told her. "Well, all right," said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. So now you can see a little bit of what Amelia Bedelia does. Is that what she meant when she said change the towels? Let's find out. "There," said Amelia Bedelia, and she looked at her list again. "Dust the furniture." Did you ever hear tell of such a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture. But to each his own way. Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom. She saw a big box with the words dusting powder on it. "Well, look at that. A special powder to dust with," exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. "That should be dusty enough. My, how nice it smells. So now you figured out what Amelia Bedelia does. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to turn my book like this because I want you to make a prediction. Draw the drapes when the sun comes in, read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up and the sun was coming in. Amelia Bedelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes. That's what it says. I'm not much of a hand of drawing, but I'll try. So what do you think she does? All right, let's see. So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. Now in your head, I want you to think, what did Mrs. Rogers mean when she said, draw the drapes? Is that what she meant? So let's see what happens next. Ready? Amelia Bedelia marked off about the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish in the living room. So what I want you to predict is, what does she do? Based on what she's done so far, what do you think she's going to do? All right, so let's find out. Amelia Bedelia thought about this a minute. She switched off the lights, then she carefully unscrewed each bulb. What's she going to do with them, do you think? Okay, so let's see. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. So those things need to be aired out too, just like pillows and babies. Oh, I do have a lot to learn. In your head, I also want you to think, what did Mrs. Rogers mean when she said put out the lights? Okay. All right. I'm going to not show you the picture until I'm done. My pie, exclaimed Miss Amelia Bedelia, and she hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. Then she looked at the list. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups. She filled them with rice, and Amelia Bedelia measured the rice. So, what do you think Amelia Bedelia did? And then in your head, I want you to think, what did Mrs. Rogers mean for her to do? So let's see. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks do want me to do funny things. Then she poured the rice back into the container. So let's see. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak in the ice box. And please dress the chicken. So I want you to think, what do you think Amelia do? And what did Mrs. Rogers mean? All right. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag. She looked at the steak for a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Amelia Bedelia, so you're going to think, what do you think she did? Because they said, trim the fat on the steak and dress the chicken. So predict what she does. Amelia Bedelia got some lace and bits of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed that fat before she put the steak in the ice box, which is the refrigerator. Now, I must dress the chicken. So think, what's she going to do? I wonder if she wants a he chicken or a she chicken, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. Okay. Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. "The folks are back," she said. She rushed out to meet them. "Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside?" asked Mr. Rogers. "The list just said to put the lights out," said Amelia Bedelia. "It didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get aired too long." "Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes," said Mrs. Rogers. I did. "See," said Amelia Bedelia, and she held up her picture. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. "The furniture!" she cried. "Did I dust it well enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "That's such nice dusting powder." Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. "I say," he called, "these are very unusual towels." Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. "Oh, my best towels," she said. "Didn't I change them enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. "I'll cook the dinner. Where is the rice I asked you to measure?" "I put it back in the container. But I remember it measured 4.5 inches," said Amelia Bedelia. "Was the meat delivered?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes," said Amelia Bedelia. "I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look nice." Mrs. Rogers rushed to the icebox. She opened it. "Lace? Ribbons? Oh dear," said Mrs. Rogers. "The chicken. You dressed the chicken?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes, and I found the nicest box to put him in," said Amelia Bedelia. "Box!" exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box. She lifted the lid. There lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as he could be. Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia she was fired. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. What do you think? It was so good, Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. "Lemon meringue pie," she exclaimed. "I made it to surprise you," said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay, and so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say, "Undust the furniture, unlight the lights, close the drapes," and things like that. Mr. Rogers didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all of his steaks with lace. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pies. And that is the end.